could ask me today, where are those poems? I don't know. I don't know where it went. And moving forward, back in 2019, I started from scratch and wrote some poems. And one of my biggest friends said that I should publish this, whereas I didn't think twice. I wrote this and I did my research in terms of how to publish. I think after 2 months, I published the book.
Right
And
on.
I published my book. And it really showed me, in a way, sometimes we see these things in terms of awareness around mental health, in terms of the way people buy it. Not many people buy poetry books. Actually, not poetry books precisely, buy self-help books in a way in terms of if we're going to talk about, let's say there's this big stigma around suicide. And not everyone will buy it because they have their own perception in terms of that certain topic. For example, suicide. In terms of suicide is not wrong, and people have their own opinions. There are some people who support it. There are some people who don't support it because they feel like their feelings are being validated in a way. So it's something that mental health. It's something that, just to add on the thing of the conversation that in terms of your brother having committing the suicide. I believe that, I have this thing that I realized, the fact that I have this year has taught me so many things in terms of most thing that I realized to take out is the fact being of perspective. It's very important to actually have a different perspective. As much as suicide is wrong, try to look by any means. Why is this person committing? Why is this person committing? Same thing with when it comes to addiction. Why is this person taking drugs? Why is this person always drinking alcohol? What is the main drive behind that? And I believe that once we solve the science behind that thing, we'll be able to realize, okay, if this person tries to commit suicide, what can we do to help them? Because as men, we don't have this thing of to seek help, to be able to say, okay, I'm not feeling good. Let me talk about it. Probably I will feel good after this. We have that problem.
Well, men have that is a big issue. Even when I did the bike ride across the country for suicide awareness in 2012, our primary audience was women. And because women are more inclined to talk about it. Men really have gotten stuck in this idea of the only two emotions I'm allowed to share is joy and rage. But there's still emotions, and they're just not allowing themselves to express all the other emotions or talk about it. I think that like being vulnerable is its own strength. There's strength and even so, like I got to a point, because I was picked on a lot. I got to a point, once I really started like learning, going into therapy and learning about myself, I was all about the concept of self-awareness and the concept of awareness, and just seeing how much that is lacking. And I can only speak for my country, because I haven't gone across the pond or lived in anywhere else, that there is a profound lack of self-awareness in the United States. Usually, and the more that usually like people don't really go on a voyage of self-discovery, like intentionally, unless two things happen. Either they've suffered a trauma and they finally wind up in therapy or a yoga class, or they're in college and they need a humanities class they need a humanities credit for whatever their major is. So they end up in a philosophy class or some Eastern religion class that gives them a different perspective from what they've realized. And it's not until then that people start actually asking, the most important, people call them deep questions, but I think they're the most important questions, is who am I? Who am I? Who am I outside of all of my influences? Who am I outside of every single institutional influence that I've been raised around. Who am I outside of my family? Who am I on a fundamental level, on a human level, not an American level, not a white guy level, not a heterosexual level. Who am I on a human level? Because it doesn't matter what color you are, what race you, what your religion is, what your sexual orientation is. We have a foundational connection, and that is our humanity. So, who am I on that human level? And I think those are the important questions. And then, what do I want to do? What is it that I desire? What is it I love? And as I started like learning that and asking myself those questions, I was able to kind of look at the blind spots of my own character. So when people would pick on me, I got to the point, even as an adult, like, you don't have any power over me because I know everything you could say about me. And I've already accepted that those are things that I need to work on. So I'm not embarrassed by them. And I'm willing and vulnerable to express them and to share them. So if you're going to come at with me and try to insult me with something about my character, I'll beat you to it. And I think that like there's power in that vulnerable acceptance of all of what you are, the good and the bad. And I just think that when it comes to terms of self-awareness and mental health, is that I think a lot of, I don't think all of it, but I think a large majority of like mental health issues that have come up here in the States is based on the fact that there's a profound lack of self-awareness. If you don't know who you are, the world will tell you who you should be. And if the world is telling you if what the world is telling you to be goes against your foundational nature, that's going to cause distortion up here and in here, up in your mind and in your heart. And that is like a recipe for disaster, for a mental health disaster. It's important to understand who you are and what your nature is and what you want. Like, I don't think that like people are raised bigots. That's stuff that people learn. You learn how to be a bigot. You learn how to be divided from other people. You learn the separation from you and your fellow brothers and sisters from around the world. And so I think it's like important to like in the journey of self-awareness, not only like was I raised, what belief systems were I raised on? What political ideologies was I raised on? But like, what do I consume of the world? What do I read? What do I listen to? What do I watch? What are the types of things and is there a reason why I consume those? Do I consume them because I was raised to do it? Do I consume it because it's a trend to do so? And I want to relate with other people, or do I consume it because there's something about that mode of expression that resonates with my true nature? But I think that you have to start asking yourself these questions and you have to go on that journey. And the thing about self-awareness is that like nobody can sell you the idea of how to fix yourself. You get to write your own playbook. The information that I'm giving you right now, like there's no subscription to it. It's free. You're you. Figure you out. There's only one person on this planet that you're stuck with for the rest of your life. You can do everything that you want to do to alienate everybody in your life so that you're completely isolated and alone. But there's one person that you can't get away from, and that's you. So like, it's important that you learn who you are and what you're about. I think that's like the first step in like cultivating healthy mental health and understanding and choosing what you want, your purpose should be while you're here on this planet. Because in the end, we're all human beings stuck on this living spaceship that is floating through the darkness of space. We're all in this mess, this mess together. And we just need to, I think that like through self-awareness, like if once you start getting into like learning who you are, I think you start to cultivate spatial awareness, like the environments that you're around and the people that you see on a daily basis, and like understanding like their struggles and their traumas, and realizing that, like, if they're acting a certain way, like, yeah, you can have boundaries and say, hey, don't treat me like that, but also know it's not about you, that they're dealing with their own stuff and they're in their head and in their world. And once you've like, you have a little bit more of an understanding of yourself, it helps you to understand that other people are going through their stuff. So like from self-awareness, you go to spatial awareness, which is just your environment, and then hopefully you can expand into like a social awareness, and that is having compassion and understanding that there are people out there that have a completely radically different experience in this world than you will ever have. And understanding that, like, as much as your plight is important to you, their plight is important to them. And I mean, to me, like, the only game in town when it comes to healing oneself is just awareness. Awareness above all is just understanding who you are, what you want, and understanding the world that you live in. I think that, like, if we actually took some time to like figure that out about ourselves and our community and our global community, we probably would stop being such a-holes to each other.
And something that you mentioned, that having an awareness campaign in terms of when it comes to suicide, and I can totally agree with you, because in terms of my podcast, when it comes to stats, most of the people that are listening with are women, which is, I think, around 52%, and 30, I think it's 37%, which are men. And it really is an alarming number. And again, you spoke about therapy, and I feel like something that I'm not quite sure if you're aware of, it's Chris Williamson, the host of Modern Wisdom. That guy, he said something. He has a quote that he says that actually, men's depression is treated like a woman's addiction, and it's something that actually, as much as he spoke about addiction, but in overall, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to all these things, most people, most psychologists, most counselors actually see those things as, okay, I've experienced this in terms of the word depression, word suicide, in terms of the ideations. So I'm going to take this and try to apply in this. Whereas, as individuals, we're not the same. We are different people. We are different beings. Whereas my depression was caused by a little thing, whereas another person's depression might be caused by a big thing. And also, it goes back to a quote that I usually use, where it says, "What might kill me might not kill me. What might kill me might not kill me." It goes to that narrative, and I feel like you spoke about in terms of values, and I believe that a man who doesn't have values, he doesn't know who he is, because that's what actually entails in terms of when as the society tries to push this narrative on you, whereas you should be a person like this and this and this and this. You look back to your values. Is this the person that I want to be, or it's just another person that is it against my values? That's the thing that I've learned, the fact that being a man, when it comes to values, is very important, and the truth. And I read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, very good, great book in terms of if you want to be in that calm state, in terms of trying to find yourself. One of the books that I would actually recommend. And another one is by Friedrich Nietzsche. Whereas I actually forgot the name of it, I forgot the name of it. I can't see it on my shelf. I forgot the name of it.